Dr. Bitsby, so excited to see you again. Oh my goodness, we had such a great time together, and the information that you gave was just so incredible. I'm just happy to have you back again here in the studio with us, right here in Laguna Woods Village.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So, honestly, the reason I was so excited and am still excited is because very rarely do we have a female neurologist. So my first question is, what possessed you or caused you to be a neurologist? I mean, what was the background? What happened? What was in your space at that time that you decided to make that decision?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that happened. One is that when I went to undergrad, I did a neuroscience degree. I also had a psychiatry degree and a sociology degree. So I did a triple major. And always, the brain has always just baffled my mind, but also was so intriguing to me. And when I finally went to med school, I had the opportunity to be able to do more with the neurology aspect because I liked it so much. So I became a neuroanatomy TA, which ultimately just taught a lot about the brain and the gross anatomy of the brain. And it just came naturally to me and easy for me. And so ultimately after that, I did all my rotations and I'm like, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do this or this or this. And all of them were wonderful and exciting to me. But I always was teaching about neurology with my colleagues and the people that I was going through medical school with. And then ultimately it was a natural fit. It just was. And so the beauty of it is that it was my calling all along. I just needed a little bit of a push every once in a while to actually keep on going. So that's just basically me, but I'm happy I'm here. And I feel very, very fortunate to have the knowledge in my head to be able to help people. So it's a beautiful gift. I feel absolutely, and I'm always learning. So I'm a natural learner. I learn all the time, constantly, as much as I can get my hands on with the brain because we have so much more to learn. And so that's also the excitement about it, is that there's always more. It's not just one thing, you're done, you're good, and you keep on going with that. There's so many things and tools that are changing on a regular basis with neurology in the brain. So it's super exciting for me moving forward. It's every day is something different. So that's basically why I became a neurologist.
Because of COVID, we have not actually been exercising and doing things. I mean, even myself, I have not been out walking or exercising the same way as I have been in the past. And I was just wondering how that actually affects our brain. And is cognitive exercises the only thing that can help us, or does that help at all?
Well, great question. Yes, COVID hit us all really hard, and none of us could imagine what we would be like over the 2 years, or 2.5 years that it took for us finally to get back to where we are now. And we're still trying to find our way. I think all of us are. And so I get that question a lot, especially because when you're isolated like that and you don't have the opportunity to learn and new things because you're around more people, when you're ultimately getting the exercise that you need to actually keep your body healthy and your brain to see new novel things, all those things are important for your brain to actually continue to have good health. And so ultimately, it's not just cognitive training or learning something novel. When you exercise your body, you're exercising your brain as well. So you have an opportunity here. Now that we are out of COVID, we can launch ourselves into such a better light. I think that a lot of patients have said, hey, I don't think my short-term memory has changed quite a bit through COVID, or I feel like my body is just completely, I don't recognize it. And I think a lot of us have that. But I think that now that we're having an opportunity to move forward, I think it's a beautiful thing because you can really see the changes in people when they start doing the cognitive exercises and the exercises outside and just having some fresh air. And so your body and your brain has been shown in clinical trials to show that your body is ultimately so much better off when you're exercising. But actually the brain is getting better too, because you have an opportunity to clean out the brain from all its debris and its waste that we all have, brain and body. And so if you're not moving and using it on a regular basis, it forgets how to move and use it, so ultimately your memories and your ultimate opportunities to lay down those memories, whatever's happening on your daily basis. I mean, again, as you know, COVID felt like Groundhog Day. You're walking every day, moving, doing the same thing over and over and over again, wondering if this is the day I get to go for walking outside, or this is the day I get to see my friends and family. And so I know that was daunting of a thought process for all of us, but now we have this opportunity to say, hey, that was pretty hard on me. I don't want to miss a moment of my life. And that's what I hope everybody does, is like launch themselves into a better possibility, because now they know what they could have and now what they have now. And I think we're all so grateful now that we have an opportunity to get out there and go. And so I think that people are a little bit more engaged in getting to the things that they need to actually feel healthy, whether it be exercising, walking, treadmill, getting an opportunity to do more puzzles, or building yourself up and learning something new in a class, or anything that's novel is really super important for your brain to continue to lay down those new memories, because your neurons need to be told what you need to do. And so if you're not doing anything that's very passive, it's much harder for your brain to actually know what you need. And so it sounds funny, but you can definitely tell your brain what you need by ultimately pushing forward and doing all the things that I think are important, whether it be exercising your body and brain. So both of them are extremely important.
Yes, yes. And what about just, cognitive exercises? I mean, do you really think that that makes a difference for us?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can see the difference in people that haven't did their brain exercises for a couple months, because I tend to see patients maybe every 2 months or every 3 months, and I can tell the difference in them, especially if they are already having some symptoms of short-term memory or cognitive decline or dementia, the word that none of us like to talk about. But the idea is, if you're moving yourself in regard to getting yourself having the cognitive exercises every single day and finding something that you really like and enjoy so you can continue to do it, it absolutely helps. And again, clinical trial wise, we do a lot of imaging and ultimately looking at how patients do in regard to their testing modalities, such as what I do on a regular basis. I do something called a cognitive test called a MOCA, a Mantra Cognitive Assessment, on a regular basis, sometimes 3 months, every 6 months, sometimes every year, depending on what they are coming in to see me for. And I do track that over time. And it has been shown that if people are continuing to push themselves forward in regard to doing cognitive exercises, they tend to do much better on those tests. And I think that ultimately they feel like they're doing much better in their life, their memory and the concentration ability to actually have the words that you're trying to say when you're trying to communicate, because a lot of people talk about word finding difficulties. And so absolutely pushing yourself forward. I talk about reading out loud, because you hear it, you see it, you're talking it. So ultimately those memories lay down. Doing something novel, which is really important. Let's say, learning a new language, saying 10 ways to say hello. Those are great things that actually get sparking those new neurons. I mean, the clinical trials have been shown that you actually can build those neurons up, and they're not gone forever if you continue to actually exercise your brain. So I think it's great, and very great question.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, we can start by teaching people different ways of saying hello.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or I love you or something. I don't know, whatever makes you happy. Exactly.
In
It's
Japanese,
fantastic.
Ohio.
Exactly. It's wonderful. Bonjour. So there's many, many ways. And how fun would that be, to have that type of interaction with people going, did you learn more ways to say hello? And again, make a game out of it, make it fun. It doesn't have to be a chore. It could be something that can be really a wonderful way of actually saying hello to whoever crosses your path, so it's pretty great.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Well, not that I feel old, but, obviously many years ago, we thought, as teenagers that when we get older, we are not going to need to sleep as much as, or let's put it this way, we thought older people just simply didn't sleep as much. And now I'm not so sure. I've been hearing a whole bunch of things about, the importance of sleep. And is sleep really important for your brain?
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. Because it's not just giving you an opportunity to feel rested. It allows you to actually clean up the brain. So let me explain.
Okay.
So there's an area of the brain that ultimately is like your lymphatic system of your body. It's a lymphatic system of the brain, and usually it's hyper active when you're sleeping. So what does that mean? So the goal of the lymph system is to clean out debris and waste. And as we use our brain and as we use our bodies, we have waste. And so certain aspects of debris, which is a couple of different clumping products that you can have. Amyloid is one of them. That can be overly clumpy, I guess you'd say, and make the brain actually not work as well, just based on the fact that you're not having the cleaning aspect of your brain when you sleep. And so I believe that most people in general should have at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep based on their lifestyle, their abilities. But if you're not sleeping on a regular basis, you can have short-term memory, cognitive decline, difficulty with concentration, and also your body's not being able to function as well because it's always active. And so, yes, sleep is so important for any age group. And again, they do talk about that. There's several studies of talking about what happens in the body if you don't sleep, and it can create everything from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sometimes diabetes, ability to actually have dementia more often. And so sleeping is super important. So you find your ways. I do talk about something called sleep hygiene, which is really important to all of my patients. When I see someone, you go head to toe with someone, you see what's going on with them, but ultimately a lot of times it may be the sleep habits that are an issue, or their eating habits that are an issue, or they're not exercising on a regular basis, and that's why they're not feeling as well, even though they may have a disease process that's very clearly there. But if you don't look at all aspects of the person's lifestyle and life and their body, you're actually doing a disservice for that patient, because if they're not sleeping well, all those things are going to go not as well. And so ultimately, just imagine what you feel like when you're tired. You can't concentrate. You're not as peppy and happy, and you move through life a little bit more sluggish. So yes, it's extremely important.
Right. Well, right next to sleeping, I guess, the next thing that all of us are doing is overeating. I say overeating because last night, I had a beautiful little cake that my son brought me, and it was so sweet.
Yes.
And tasty.
Yes. Yes, I know. I can hear what you're saying, just for sure. So
yeah,
yes.
but definitely, a lot of us don't, we know that sugar is not good for us. But what about just regular eating habits other than that? Everyone putting us on we're not putting myself on a diet necessarily, but there's the keto diet, there's the all grain diet, there's all these different things that people are, throwing out at us about eating. And I don't know if is just, a simple Mediterranean, because my husband is from Italy. So that's the kind of diet that we have.
I understand. Yes, for sure.
But does, like, let's say, for instance, people just love Mexican food, or they love barbecue food, does this actually affect our brain, the type of food that we eat?
So there's a big push now to understand a little bit more about nutrition. And I think I talked about this before with you. When I was going through med school, there was only one class in nutrition, and that class was an elective. And that has changed dramatically of understanding that our food is who you are. And so, yes, of course, we like Mexican food, we like Italian food, we like, the pastas and all those things, but in moderation, they're fine. I want to make sure that that's very clear, because I don't want you to deprive yourself of opportunities to enjoy the things that you love. It just comes down to how much and what your portion sizes are, and ultimately making it a choice every single meal you have, that most of that meal is healthy, that allows you to say, okay, is this going to be good for my body and my brain? Because it's been shown there's such a thing as something called a brain gut axis. And what you eat is who you are. And so if you're eating a lot of processed foods, things that are not really like soul of the earth kind of things, like ultimately eating an apple is so much better than eating applesauce or processed from, juices and things like that, because ultimately there's usually preservatives in that and things that your body doesn't do well with. Our brain And our body and our guts have changed so dramatically, even over the last 20 years, based on how we eat. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. Please eat the things you love, but let's say you're going to have a nice pasta. Make that your portion side of a side dish, and the rest of it be a salad. Nice, colorful, wonderful, rainbow-like salad, because that's what's going to actually keep you living longer and feeling better and warding off those diseases that are very commonly all around us, with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes, which are all preventable. And it's amazing. I know genetics plays a role, but our lifestyles play a huge role. And so if we're not taking care of ourselves, when we look at our plate and say, okay, how am I doing today? And it's every single time. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I had some enchiladas, but ultimately the rest of the day and the rest of the week, I'm going to do different things for myself so that it doesn't hurt me, but I still enjoy myself. And so that's the choice we have to make. But boy, is it an important choice for sure.
And then the next thing that's always big on seniors' mind is not drinking enough water, because you know why.
I know why. So let's talk about that. Okay. So that we have researched this of understanding about what water does for us. And as a lot of us know, I mean, our brain is very, very fluffy because it's 73 to 78% water. So imagine if your gut and your body and your brain is not getting the water it needs, it doesn't function very well. And so I can tell when I haven't drank the water, I'm sluggish, I'm tired, I'm not as on with my patients in my life as I would like to be. And so I'm very particular about trying to get it all in as much as I can before my day starts, as much as I can. And again, what is a good daily allowance? Well, you start out slow, because some people don't drink a whole lot of water because you're going to have an excess of urination. You're going to have to go to the bathroom all the time. And so what is it that you can do to actually play with that, so you still get the benefits without having all the side effects of going to the bathroom all the time? So the goals are that for females, it's 2.2 liters of fluid. Again, I prefer water. Try to stay away from caffeines, because ultimately that's a diuretic. For males, it's usually 3 liters a day. And so they're like, whoa, I haven't even drinking eight ounces. How am I going to even get there? It's a slow process. And so what I always ask my patients to do that haven't been drinking any water, and you can look at the skin, you can just tell when somebody's dehydrated. And so what you would do is ultimately start out with, okay, I'm going to do 8 ounces today, and I'm going to do it at the beginning of the day, so I don't have to think about it all day long. Yeah, I may urinate, but I'm not waking up to go to the bathroom. And that's your first step. And so ultimately, over a 3-month period, you may get to maybe 10 ounces on that every day. And it's like great goal. And as we all know, 21 days, it's a habit, right? So I start out with eight ounces for 21 days, and then from there, go from there. And ultimately, you'll start seeing a difference. I mean, it helps you with every aspect of your body. I mean, even your mood can change if you're drinking water on a regular basis. And again, some people say, I don't like the taste of water, and so I really don't want to drink water. So you can find ways, put a little lemon in it. There's tons of wonderful little supplements you can put in there. Sometimes people need a little bit more water because their blood pressure is dropping a little bit. So put a little salt in there. And again, if you have too high blood pressure, you have to be thoughtful about that. So ultimately, everything is a guide, and everybody's different. And so I want to be really careful about saying, okay, you must drink 2.2 liters because you're a female. First, start out slow, but I promise you, it will definitely reward your life, and you will feel so much better if you're drinking water on a regular basis. Because again, if we're dehydrated, we're going to feel it. And we may be so used to that feeling, you don't even know how great you can feel if you're having enough water on board.
Right. So you're saying 1.5 liters for women.
So it's 2.2 liters for women.
2.2 liters.
Yes. Again,
Okay.
that is a guide.
Right,
and so it depends. So you start out at 8 ounces, 8-ounce glass would make me so happy at least a day, and then walk yourself through, because you don't realize there's some fluids you may be taking in that are helping you with that 2.2 liters. Again, it's a lot at the beginning. So you over time, you're like, oh, I'm going to have a water with this. I'm going to have a water with my medication. I'm going to have a water with this. And then it just adds up in a beautiful way. But I wouldn't say go, to the glacier and take 2.2.
People ask me a lot of questions, so I'm just like trying to get this down clear.
No, I get it. I get it.
That does seem like a lot of water
It does.
for a day.
Absolutely.
I mean, what if you're drinking tea?
So if it's a decaf tea, then it definitely counts. If
Okay.
it's, I mean, you have to think about it, orange juice and things like that. The juices are a little bit heavy in sugar, so you have to be thoughtful about how much you're doing. So if you're going to have that and you need the taste, you do a little tiny, maybe like a splash or a little bit more of the juice and the rest water. And so if you needed the taste portion of that, that's how you would do it. But ultimately, it's just you want to get to a place where you're doing more water if you're not drinking water, because you can tell the difference. Your organs don't work as well if you don't have it. You get more constipated when you don't have water. Again, we may have talked about this, but your colon's 3 football fields long. Okay, so I know that sounds like, what are you talking about, Dr. Bixby? Well, if you take it all up and it's all like crumbled, but the surface area of that colon, if you take it out, it is literally 3 football fields long. And the whole goal of your colon is actually to absorb water. Okay. So the waste goes into your colon soupy, because that's what it is. That's the consistency of it. And the goal of the colon is to suck the water out of it all the way through, so it forms a stool so you can go to the bathroom. But imagine if you're not drinking water and you're going in dehydrated, what happens to that stool? It gets really, 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 really dry and much harder for you to pass. And so outside the brain, you have to think about the gut. If you're like constipated and walking around the earth like this on a regular basis, it doesn't feel very good. And you also have to maintain that waste in your body when you should be getting rid of it. And so I know this is a brain talk, but it's a body talk. If we miss out on opportunities to help ourselves with something that's so simple, we have so much control. I mean, some things are going to hit us. They just are. We all are going to get something, and that's a pretty normal thing. But if you are hydrated and you're eating well and you're doing those things for yourself, I promise you, whatever you get is going to be so much easier on you. It just is,
So we can just go slowly from 8 liters.
Of course.
8 ounces,
Yes.
10 ounces to 12 ounces.
Yes.
To a liter.
Yes.
To 2 liters.
Yes, exactly. And again, if you get to 1 liter and you're like, it's really hard on me. I mean, I just want you to get to the place where you can do the best you can with hydration and hydrating your body. And so just start today. I mean, start the process and you'll see the difference. I promise you. It's like, get to a place where your body is hydrated, you're eating well, you're sleeping better. And I promise you, all the things that you may have will not feel so daunting of a task when you wake up in the morning, you see? And so it's just something that you give yourself back. That's all,
Right.
Yeah.
And for men, you said 3 liters?
3 liters, because they're longer, bigger, they have more muscle, they have all these things that, they have to make sure that they take care of. And so, and this is, again, the recommended daily allowance. And again, that said, I mean, I try to say, water. That's what I talk to all my patients about. But I also say before 6 p.m. because you will not like me in the middle of the night if you're drinking all your water right before you go to bed, because you won't have a good night's sleep. And again, that
basically you need to be drinking it all day long.
Yeah.
Way it's not going to impact your sleeping.
Right, exactly. I mean, again, your last, and then have a good, urination right before you go to bed, just so that you make sure that you eliminate your bladder so you're good to go, is also a good recommendation to do. But again, for me, I get my nice big glass of water when I first wake up in the morning, and that's just my normal routine. And so I'm already ahead of the game. You see? And so that's something that you can do too. And so then it's just sips in throughout the day, so you can take care of yourself with that. So that's just a thought, but I think that's the best way of actually thinking about it. So it's not so big of a task, so.
Right. There's controversy a lot about, because I've lived all over the world, and in some countries, they don't even serve ice water.
Yes.
And here in America, of course, it's like all the rage. And, for the brain, for the body, does it make any difference realistically whether or not the drink is cold or room temperature or hot?
Not at all.
Not at
all. Because what happens to your body is you ultimately get it to a certain temperature anyway. Once it goes in your system, it becomes part of your body. 38.7 or 5 or 2, whatever you run. And so it may take a little bit longer for it to get warmer or cooler, but it doesn't matter, just as long as it's water. I'm happy, whatever works for you. So that's how I feel. So
Well, that answers another good question that people are always asking. And then, of course, I think probably the thing that has impacted us the most during this last year or so is stress.
yes.
And, that's probably, I left that to last because it is such a difficult thing to even admit.
Yes, you're right. And the society sometimes, I mean, it's much, much, much better now. But when I first started doing this, and again, I had a psychology degree too, and we talked about that, the shame of feeling that you're stressed or you have anxiety or you have depression. It is just not talked about. And I think that has changed dramatically, and I'm really happy it has over the 15 years I've been practicing. It's much more of a common discussion that you have with your doctors and your people that surround you. And I'm so happy about it. But I still think that some people think it's a stigma and they don't want to say, this is what's happening to me. But if you don't recognize it, or you don't say, okay, this is what's happening, you can't help yourself. And so what is stress? I mean, it comes in so many different forms. I mean, it could be down to, I'm just really insomniatic, I'm not sleeping well. And you find that you actually are ruminating. You're thinking about all the things, and you can't seem to shut off the brain because it's constantly, that's when it's quiet time. Sometimes the night is much harder for people because they don't have the distractions of the light or the people or interactions of what you normally do. And so some people can have, whether it be stress where they're having panic attacks and they're not breathing well and they're having a hard time, or it's just simply that they're manifesting different things where they're not sleeping well, or they're quick to react to things when they used to not be that way, or they have a sadness or they feel blue where they don't want to leave the house. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is that my life being isolated for the last 2 years? Or is it more that this is something that I need to address because I don't know how to manage it myself? And that's the most bravest thing you could possibly do, is walk forward and talk about it, whether it be your friend, your family, or someone like me, because ultimately the one thing about it is feeling vulnerable, but also having people hear you and say, you know what, I've had that too. That's something that's been really hard on me. And boy, I mean, this lifting of a weight goes away when you have an opportunity to talk about this. And so whether it be with a person that you love, or, you know what, I really don't want to talk about this with my family, I may want to talk about it with somebody that ultimately is a professional in it, or one of your doctors that you're very comfortable with. There's something called cognitive behavioral therapy where you just talk, and the nice thing about it is there's no buy-in with that person. So they're like, well, this is what I see and this is what I hear. And these are some tools that you can use to actually get yourself to a better space. And whether that being just recognizing it, sometimes that's all you need. And sometimes you need to read about it. And sometimes you need to go, okay, I feel like I'm going into that moment. What do I do for myself to feel better? Whether it be going out and looking at the beautiful ocean, putting your feet in the sand, or putting your feet on the grass, or breathing exercises, or just moving your body. Oh my gosh, that is an absolute stress reliever right there, is just getting out, putting those shoes on and getting yourself out there, because sometimes you even forget why you even were having the moment in the first place. But if that is still happening on a regular basis, then I really, really I encourage people to say, hey, this is something that I can't handle on my own. Let me find another way to actually do that, because there's so much out there. It's so beautiful where we are now in this country to be able to talk about these things and have tools to get you through it. So please, please, please. I mean, stress is really hard on your brain and really hard on your body over time. And I don't want you to have to go through that. So if you're willing and taking that first step to look at all the possibilities of improving your life with hydration and eating the rainbow, and thinking about how you're sleeping, and if you need some help actually making that sleep hygiene better, and sleeping better, and changing the way you exercise your body and your brain, and get to a place where if you are stressed and you're having difficulties with that, you're willing to talk to somebody. I think that overall we move forward in the better way. So hopefully we can work on that together.
Yes, yes, yes. Mindy, thank you so much for coming today. We totally love you.
Thank you. I love you too. It's wonderful. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'd love to have you back again.
I'm here. I would love it too. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. See you soon.
Okay, bye.